children's ministry in a lot of different contexts. So, as I mentioned to some of you that came in early, we're going to be talking about technology in children's ministry from two aspects. The point of ministry, technology used for ministry, and then technology used for administry. Yeah, right? But before we do any of that, let's go ahead and get started with some prayer, can we?
Lord God, thank you, Lord, for this time together to talk about technology, how we can use it, Lord, what it can be used for in the classrooms, in the kids' churches, and all of those different settings. Lord God, let this be a profitable, fruitful time together, Lord. In the name of Jesus, help us, Lord. Let it be inspiring to us and things that we can practically bring back to our churches. In Jesus' name.
And with this, I will say that I'm going to be looking for you guys to share, to those of you that are already using different technologies in those venues, like what you guys do, right? So, as I mentioned, oh, this is so funny being able to hear that music there. Really, like being a speaker, I'm so bummed that I don't get to check out the other sessions. I have to tell you, okay, just quick story. Brother Dwayne and I were laughing. Like, we don't really do that Making Melodies in My Heart song up in San Jose. But all night, like my son was singing that all night. He's like, what's that song about the thumbs up? And then he was like sitting there, he was like in the bathroom, and he was like, like brushing his teeth, and he'd be like, and I'm like, oh, this is awesome, right? So, great session. I'm sure they're gonna have a blast. Speaking of that, right? Technology can help with things like that, right? To be able to facilitate, because just like with this morning, when we were doing this stuff, yeah, it's fine to do stuff a cappella. It's great, right? But it's also for us, it's really handy to have like Bluetooth speakers around. We literally, when certain things weren't working with the sound system, at one point we were actually just using the Bluetooth speaker and just like blasting it out, to be able to have music, because not every venue will you have like a full set of musicians and all that other stuff and everything, right? So that would be one recommendation I have. And
sorry, we can't find the prayer room.
Oh yeah, no, it's through there, and then you go back. Yeah.
Keep it going.
Your guide will take you to your destination. Okay, so like one of the things I would say that's an easy one is check out some Bluetooth speakers. They are really nice and versatile in being able to make sure that you can have music accompany what you're doing, right? Another thing I would say is there's a lot of really fun apps. I am not the master of being able to share with you all of them, but when it comes to easy free apps, okay, one for all of you Android users, I'm sure they have one for iPhone users, but it's called Brisk. Okay, it's the Brisk. I'll pull it up. It's called the Brisk Board Game Show. Okay, so
Brisk Board Game Show.
yes, and
that's probably one of the
there's so many, right? But I'm just going to tell you one specific one that I use all the time. I use this in so many contexts. I mean, I use this for Bible study review sometimes with notes, right? I just love it, right? So people will be answering review questions, and then they'll be like, right? And it's like, and if something wasn't right, right? And it's like after they actually get the answer right, cue the applause. Right? And then it's like, when we're doing reviews in classrooms or a Bible study, it's like, oh, we're going to the lightning round, people. Right? So it's so easy. It's like, this is a free app that you can just pop on your phone. This is so great, if you have a little extra time to burn in the classroom and you want to do a little review of the class, you just pop this thing open. You're like, all right, it's time to go for the lightning round in our class today. We're going to ask some review questions. And you go and you ask, and it just spices it up, right? It makes it a lot more fun. Simple, easy app. It's called Game Show Soundboard by Brisk. okay? That's one of many, right? Hopefully that sparks some thoughts for you guys. Another, when it comes to different things, media and stuff you can use in the classroom or kids' church, we are constantly using countdowns before we start our kids' churches. And you can buy countdowns. You can also download them off YouTube. Okay, there's a tool I use. There's actually a video on Next Level Kidney about using this tool called Downloader, and it lets you download videos off of YouTube, right? So you can find all kinds of free countdowns, right? 5-minute countdown, 30-second countdown, and that is a great thing to have in the background when you're playing your games, when you're just getting ready to kick off, right? And kids will just see the countdown timer going on and everything, and then they get all excited and they're like, you know, the team is queued up to get the silver string going, the second hits 0 and stuff like that, right? That's just a nice little flourish, nice little touch, you know, that's added to it. So, you know, my recommendation is if you've wanted to do that and you thought it was intimidating, it's actually not that intimidating. You know, as long as you have some way to project and be able to show the media, that's actually really easy to do, right? And it's free, you can get that stuff free. Let's switch over to talking about administering with technology, okay? This is going to be a lot more, again, I'll share with you some of the things I do and my team does, and then I'll also want to hear from you guys what you guys do, and also share some of what I've heard just in this conference on what some of you guys do, right? There's a lot of different technologies that people use to run their churches, to communicate. Like, for example, you know, some of you use Planning Center. We use Planning Center. Sounds like you guys use Planning Center, right? Some of you guys are aware of what Planning Center is. We use it for scheduling. Yeah, Planning Center online, right? And it's good for scheduling. They actually do a lot of stuff, but we only use it for the scheduling. And you know, that can help, right? Like if you want to use it to be able to schedule out different team members for like kids' churches or scheduling who's going to be doing what teaching at what times, you know, and then they can be able to shoot reminders out to people, right? So that's kind of hip, right? It can actually text you, be like, you are teaching tomorrow, you know, like things like that, right? Like you can set up reminders, so that's pretty hip. People can actually block out times, like for example, this weekend, I had a whole bunch of red dates. Do not schedule me for tenor during this time, right? Or you'll be sorry, because there will be a mic and no person, right? So that's something that's useful from an administrative perspective with communication, right? A lot of people also use Servant Keeper, right? Servant Keeper is another one that people use. So what's interesting, I don't know as much about it, and I'm happy to let people who use it talk about it. But I'll just give you, my first take on what I'm hearing about it, right? Sounds like it has a decent way of doing attendance, and I'll tell you what I would like to see on systems when it comes to attendance, and I'll even share with you what I'm struggling with right now with my current system that I'm working with, right? So there's a system that we use called Church Community Builder. It's a big system. Ours is a really big system. It does a lot of things really well, but it drives me absolutely batty when it comes to attendance, right? So where have we come from? Well, we used to print out and just have people check off stuff on paper, right? Well, the only problem is then somebody has to key that into a spreadsheet for you to actually analyze against it later. For us, we're like one step above that. People are entering the attendance on their phones, but the attendance isn't really linked somehow. Right? So I have a bus team that is checking in kids that came on the vans. I have a Sunday school team that has kids that are church kids and bus kids, and they're entering in the attendance again. And then no one is entering for me attendance so that I can look quickly and know which of the church kids are here, right? So I am totally blind to that aspect of things. And sometimes I find that attendance, there are kids that are checked in the bus that weren't checked in class or vice versa, just because people were busy, right? Doesn't happen very often, but enough to drive me crazy, right? So those are the type of things where it sounds like Circuit Keeper does that okay, right? You know, so every software has a different strength, right? You know, like Circuit Keeper sounds like it even has a mobile app, right? So what I would say is, you know, like, if you're using a technology today, look to see if you can leverage it for attendance. You know, we still use our system even though I'm not happy with it. We still use it to be able to get core attendance information. And let me give you ideas on how you can use that information, right? We then extract from our system kids' attendance across a month, and that's what we use to drive how much money they get in ignition bucks to spend at the store. And then every quarter, we use that information to know which kids are our Sunday school VIPs, right? That are gonna get a shirt, that can go on a special trip, like we're going to Santa Cruz Beach Boardwalk coming up in a month from now, you know, for all the kids from May, April, and March that had near perfect attendance or perfect attendance, right? How would we know that? That's what the system tells us, right? Now, the downfall of this is you have to make sure everybody's actually using the system, which is a pretty large feat. You know, it's kind of hard, right? But as everybody sees, well, I'll say it this way. The best way to ensure that is to really tie something else to the need for compliance to that, right? That's why the kids shopping is tied to our faithfulness in actually taking the attendance. The kids actually getting to be on the VIP trips, you know, makes them, everybody realize, like, hey, like, you know, like, a kid's opportunity to do any of these things is directly tied to me actually taking the moment to do this stuff. And I don't want a kid to get, you know, like, get missing out on these things just because I wouldn't take a few minutes to finish up my attendance, right? You know, and it just really helps everybody be more body. Because if it's paperwork for the sake of paperwork, you're probably gonna have a lot of people not complying, right? When you get that information, that stuff, you can analyze it and it can tell you things very quickly what's going on, right? I'll give you an example. For me, I take all of the attendance and I'll compare one month to another and it'll quickly tell me what's going on, right? At a glance, I can know, okay, if I run the numbers and I try to figure out with, like, you know, different Excel sheets, and if you guys really want to do these 7 nerdy things, I'm happy to share with you my Excel sheets. You know, they're not proprietary, happy to share them, right? So on the games handouts, my email is at the bottom of those. So if you don't go to the game session, feel free to grab those handouts just to get my email too if you want to get more of that info. But basically, I run through a spreadsheet that then tabulates for me how many kids came 4 times, or only 3 times, or only 2 times, or only once. And then on a separate sheet, I just, you know, like, paste the months in, and the calculation already works. And then on a separate sheet, it's figuring out what's the difference between the number of kids that came 4 times, 3 times, 2 times, only once, right? And then it'll tell me up or down or same, right? Like, because it just does those calculations for me. And so I know certain things, right? If everything is up, I'm like, yes, right? Like, it's a wonderful indicator. If the number of kids that came 4 times and 3 times is down, then I know, for whatever reason, kids aren't sticking around, right? We're losing faithful kids, right? And I have situations sometimes where it's the kids that came 4 times and 3 times were down, and the kids that came 1 time or 2 times were up. And that tells me right away, you know what? Like, it's like we're doing really good outreach, but we're not keeping our kids from month to month for whatever reason. And it makes you think about it for a second, right? You know, and that's what technology should do for you, right? For you to be able to get quick gut indicators on, okay, what should I do here, right? I don't know if Circuit Keeper does that or any of these other systems do that, you know?
You can generate a report and you can put in, like, if you do set certain parameters for your list, and you put here the last 6 months, and it'll generate everybody that's been here in the last 6 months, and then if they haven't been here, how many hours. So.
Yeah, so that she's got a good point there. I see a lot of systems do this, so, you know, check if your system can do this, if you have a system. which is it'll tell you who's been here and who has not, right? Because we use those reports regularly to do follow-up, right? Like when we have our teachers go out at least once a month, and our bus team goes out every single week, right? And we're using those reports to understand, it's like, okay, well, who do we need to be focusing on, really making sure getting to their door, right? And prioritizing. So that's one thing. The analysis I'm talking about is kind of like another level above that, where you're actually analyzing two different months against each other, which I have not been able to get the system we use to quite do that quite yet, you know? So, you know, those are just a few examples, right? Like one is being able to take attendance, the other is being able to track other things, you know? Again, even if you're just using Excel, that might be a good start, right? Where you're making just a list and then you can sort. So at least start with a database, right? A big list in Excel of all your kids, all of their birthdays, and everything else, so that you can sort by birthday. So you can know every month, well, you know, which kids are having birthdays, right? So you can make a big deal from there. And technology should really help you be more bionic from that sense, right? As long as it's not crippling you in trying to gather the information. So, so yeah. Questions on administering.
What kind of information do you get out of the, you know, putting in attendance? Do you get parents' name, address, phone number? Because it can be like a privacy thing too. You know, some people don't want to give.
Yeah, well, for us, the way we run it is for kids to start riding on the vans, their parents have to fill out, a consent form that gives us all of their information, kids' allergies, and that they are giving us permission to pick the kids up. In that,
give that form to them?
yes, we give that form to them, and the kids can't ride the vans until they have that form filled out, right? And then when we've got that, we enter that into our system. And then from that point on, the records are set to be able to have all that information in there. You know, I've seen a lot of different types of systems. Like another one is like Lamb's List. You know, if you want to do the type of like kiosk checkout or check-in, where, you know, it'll actually print a little label on a dyno printer, and you can put one badge for the kid, one badge for the parent. Depends, like, you know, the authentication practices you want to do and other things like that, right? Or you can have, like, you know, other ways of doing it. You can do it as simple as, like, you know, matching carnival tickets, right? You know, like, where it's just a matching set of numbers. There's so many different ways to do it. It depends what you want to do, right? Again, technology should just be there to facilitate that stuff, right? It's always a danger that technology can take on such a life of its own that you're like spending so much time nurturing the tech that, you know, your kids are like, somebody talk to us, please, you know, right? So we try to keep it really lightweight. The whole idea is basically people are just like checking a bunch of boxes next to kids' names to be able to keep that stuff straight. Most people do it from their phones right now on our team, right? Yes?
Other than bus ministry and nursery, do you have a parental check-in key where they the kids can leave without their parent, or what age do you
okay.
start that out?
Okay, that's a good one. That's a good one. You know, I'm going to bring up with that. You know, if you talk about a nursery environment, there are a lot of cool systems out there that will give you like a paging system, right, where you can give a parent a pager, where they have to sign out, right, knowing who they are and everything, and that's part of authenticating who should be allowed to pick the kid up. You know, if you set as a policy, it's like, okay, we are expecting when you come back that you are the one picking this kid up. If you're not, have that person bring this pager, no child, right? You know, right? You know, so there has to be, because same thing with like if you do a label policy, right? Then it's like fine, like if you don't pick the kid up, then the person that has the matching label comes, right? Otherwise, we will be adamant that if you send somebody else, we're just telling you now, we're going to send them back to get you, you know? So those are typically things we do. Like, hey, I'm telling you, we run into situations where, yeah, like, you know, like, Uncle Johnny is here to pick up some kid from class, you know, and it's like, it becomes a confrontation. It gets really uncomfortable. But we always tell the parents, like, hey, what if we were wrong?
Right.
What if that wasn't Uncle Johnny and we just trusted him, right? We're sorry, we were really sorry we inconvenienced you. We never want to do that, but we would never forgive ourselves if we let your kid go with somebody else.
Right.
And they always understand that. As mad as somebody would be, like they gotta understand that argument, right? You know, so that's the thing where it's like, just be ready to have that conversation in love, right? Like, it's like, I'm so sorry that Uncle Johnny was totally legit. You know, it's not like we didn't believe him, it's just we would hate that we were wrong, right? You know, so it's like, hey, hold on, Uncle Johnny, you know, like I got on file right here the information on how to call mom. Let me just call mom quick. You know, I'm really sorry this is inconveniencing you. It should just take a minute, right? And do what you can, and go from there. Hopefully you can reach mom and be good, right? Yes?
And just on that too, like we've had a couple instances where non-custodial parents will show up and that can be, and if you release that child, then you're liable.
Yeah. You know, let's just be real about the world we live in right now, right? There are times that parents are split up, and you know, like you don't know. It's like, yeah, like it's true. Mom and dad were together 2 weeks ago, and they're not together now. And dad is about to move to Vegas, right? And you think, oh yeah, we see them around all the time and stuff like that. Like you just have to be kind of discerning, right? Just all stay prayed up, right? You know, like that type of thing, right? You know, like, but it's like just like, you know, it's important.
But shouldn't I mean, there's got to be a certain level of responsibility on the person who should at least inform you these things. I mean, it should be no surprise.
I agree. You know, like it's like that is something that should happen. Doesn't always happen, right? You know, and I mean, like, you know, we've read articles about it here and there. I know I definitely have, where they talk about a situation like that literally happening that's not a hypothetical, right? You know, dad literally is out of the picture and he's mad, he's got a grudge, you know, how can he be kicked out of the family? And he goes and picks up the kids and he's gone. Nobody hears from him ever again, right? And that's the type of thing where it's, you know, it's important to have these policies, right? Technology is part of being able to facilitate that. It's technology plus process. But yes. You have another question? Anyone else? This is really good conversation. This is very good. Is there anything anyone wants to share about how they're using technology to administer right now, to be able to organize information for ministry? Yeah.
Remind app that is basically just text messages that you can send.
Okay, hold on. Go ahead.
We use a app called Remind, and it's a teacher-student communication, but we use it for the church, and so you can send out as many text messages as you want to whatever group. So they subscribe to a number. You're given a number, and then you create a code for it, and then they just text that code to that number, and then you can send messages back and forth. So we use that for the church right now. We're in the process of implementing it for the kids, so it's a great way to keep in constant contact and let the parents know, like, this Sunday's water day, make sure you send water shoes or whatever.
Is that a
the
free
app's
app
name is Remind.
or a paid app?
It's an app on your phone.
Is it
it's
free?
in Google Play and Apple, and it's free.
Okay, so there's a free app called Remind, right? It's a good way to communicate. Thank you. That reminds me of another thing that I tell you guys about is, like, you know, there's a mailing list thing called MailChimp, right? MailChimp's a good one. It's a free emailing list, right? Where you can be able to go ahead and create a list of people and be able to email blast for free, right? To keep in communication with parents. So that's another good one. Oh, I had one. It totally slipped me. But yes, thank you. Remind. So, anyone else? That was really cool. Yes.
So all this information is given both to your bus kids and
Go ahead.
so all this information is going to be used to the bus parents, kids, and church kids.
I would say yes.
Yeah, I actually have, like, I have one that goes, I created a code that is just for the church. I have a code that is just for the kids. I have a code that's just for the leadership team.
Or plus
so
two.
when I text a message, I
Little,
the
yeah.
group I want to text, and then it
Yeah, okay, so I'm gonna grab one final suggestion, real fast.
Write it
It's
down
called
and we'll
Class
talk about it.
Dojo. Class Dojo, all right? This is kind of a fun, random system that lets, like, you can use it to kind of incentivize kids. They can get like their own little creature and they can upgrade their creature based on performance in class. And you can give them points to spend, right? As a teacher, they can spend points to like give their creature a hat, you know, and stuff like that. So that's kind of a fun random tip, right? To be able to have something that's not even physical that you can be able to give and incentivize kids. So thank you guys. This was fun talking about